Welcome back, everyone, to the Hearthstone Grandmasters. Muzzy versus bloodyface is coming up next as our featured match. And it's going to be a pretty fun one, a pretty fast one. And I think that we can talk a little bit more about it in the meantime. But I do think both these players have a lot on the line in terms of their records. You know, one of the things that people want us to discuss more is maybe like the implications of each match, right? Are they just playing a best of three? Or like, what are they playing for? Muzzy's 2 and 3 right now, and with a win, can improve his standings into the division. Same with bloodyface, also at 2 and 3. A win here would mean that they could be in contention for the top 3.
Yeah.
bloodyface was looking like he was moving up in the standings, but with Firebat's win, now gets moved down. So, to stay competitive in the top half of the region, you just need to continue to win, right? Just win. But here in this spot, Muzzy versus bloodyface is a 5-6 tie right now.
Yeah, it's even though we're in week 3, if you think about it, we're almost to the halfway point after this week.
Right.
There's a 7-week regular season, and after that regular season, the top 3 players from each division qualify for that 6-player playoff. So let's say you start off 2 and 4, you have 4 losses. Even if you win out and finish that double round robin at 10 and 4, that doesn't guarantee that you're in playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're in a position where I can win every single one of my remaining matches and still not qualify for playoffs, you know you're in a rough spot. So even though these early matches don't 100% solidify them in the bottom portion of the bracket, every win's important. So every match is important because you don't want to fall too far behind in the standings, especially when you're facing off against someone who's close to you in the standings, because they're going to be the one that you're fighting with over the next couple weeks,
right,
to try and push yourself into that top half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So let's go ahead, take a look a little bit closer to get to know these players before we go deeper into this match.
Mazahidul Islam. I go by Muzzy in game. The initial thoughts, I took a look at the list of players. Some of them have been more focused on streaming, I would say, in these past few years. I've participated at the highest levels of competition that they might not have appeared in, so I think I have the advantage there in terms of experience, and I'm the player to beat in my group, for sure. People would always mention the term burnout to me. Burnout, burnout, burnout. I didn't know what it was. I didn't get burnout in the past. I still don't think I know what it is. I think my X factor is definitely my ability in game to adapt to different situations, and I think Hearthstone instinct is definitely my greatest skill set. I think that if I took a break for a while and came back to new cards, I think I could pilot a new deck fairly well, fairly quickly. I think respect only goes so far. At the end of the day, it's usually about the title. People don't, remember the names of, oh, he was a good player, they respected him. Oh, how did he finish? He didn't make it out of groups and worlds? What? I definitely want to have more titles and put my name in Hearthstone history.
My name is Brian Eason, also known as bloodyface. I've played card games my whole life. I've had success in other card games, and I feel like my whole life is just a continuous series of near misses. My favorite hobby outside of Hearthstone is playing other card games. I just enjoy the puzzle aspect. I enjoy the deck building aspect. I also enjoy eating a lot, but who doesn't? The thing I look the most forward to is just the high level of competition. I got into it because I love puzzles, I love card games, I love solving metas. I think my X factor, maybe my defining characteristic, is that I think about everything, macro, micro, and pretty much everything in between. I think it's important to overthink because you're playing against like the best minds, and it's important to be able to be capable of going to the highest level, and it's important to be understanding that everyone else is also capable of doing that, so you need to be able to outthink everybody. I have a lot of respect for Muzzy. I think he's a really great player. I think he didn't get the result he wanted at Worlds, and I think that's going to make him a lot hungrier, make him work harder for Grandmasters. Playing at the highest level is super interesting because people do unpredictable things, and you can't exactly exploit them like you could lesser good players, so I look forward to the mind games.
You heard it from the players here. Eating a lot of good food equals good Hearthstone play, and I don't think I can fault that logic.
I have
to be
a
quite honest.
significant advantage over every other player in the world.
Oh yeah, you're the best Hearthstone player in the world.
By that
TJ.
metric, yes.
Yes. If we move the goalposts enough, I'm sure, yes, even myself could be considered a good Hearthstone player. So we talked a little bit about the records. I kind of want to just break it down a little bit mathematically so that people can understand why it's important. Is that if you are 2-3 right now, you have a 25% chance in the next 2 games to go 4-4 and tie your record and go 4-4. You have a 50% chance to go 3-5 and a 25% chance to go 2-6 because there's only 4 possible outcomes. That means it's twice as hard for a position to be in 3-3 to do exactly that. So every single loss, the summary is every single loss, you have to work twice as hard, which makes it difficult because if you are 50% against another player of equal skill, and we're assuming the Grandmasters are on that equal playing field, you're just basically having your chances every single time you lose to climb the standings 1 spot higher.
Yes.
Which is very difficult to overcome.
Yeah, it very much so is. And the tough thing about it is Eddie and StrifeCrow at the top of this bracket seem like they have just a better understanding of where the metagame lies and how to counter it each week. And if you're a step behind 1 week, you have to, this is not a numbers thing, it's not percentages, but you kind of have to work twice as hard to make up for the fact that you missed the mark last week.
Yeah.
Whereas StrifeCrow, for instance, sitting at 4-1, has kind of seemed 1 step ahead of the metagame in each week. Like last week bringing Rogue to counter all the mages, this week bringing Warrior to counter all the rogues. Eddie has brought Warrior 3 weeks in a row, but he seems to be the player that
logic. It's not like he's stubborn and like lazy. He's like, I think this, therefore I should just play Warrior. He was like last week. He was like, should I bring Mage or Warrior?
Yeah.
This week he's like, should I bring Rogue or Warrior? Or even Hunter, right? And he ends up just bringing the Warrior, but it ends up working out really well.
And he seems to be playing Warrior like slightly better than every other player. So it's no surprise to see him at the top. If they continue that trend, then they're going to stay at the top of the standings.
Right.
And then who's fighting for that 1 spot for 3rd place?
Yeah.
So it's a difficult thing.
This is all just napkin math, of course. I'm sure things get influenced a lot based off of what their opponents could possibly do, and there's definitely some statistic experts on social media that probably can correct us about like what the actual percentage chance to qualify. But the more you win, the more secure your spot is for playoffs. Let's go ahead and take a look at the deck lists here. Muzzy is going to be bringing the aggressive tempo rogue. We featured this one because he is the lone person in the Americas to bring this specific variant, which is a throwback to a couple months ago when Rise of Shadows first came out. This was the fearsome lineup. His secondary deck, Harrison Jones, Kieran Bloodhoof, Chef Nomi, that's more for the Warriors. Probably not going to come into play here. The tertiary deck with the Fairy Dragons, the Walk the Plank, and the Betrayal, that's more for the Mages, but I don't know. Fairy Dragon is hard to remove. You can't backstab it. You only can SI or Kobold Lackey it. Might be some case to maybe bust it out, but I have to imagine that maybe Mozzi wants to stay lean and mean.
Yeah, I don't envision any of these players swapping. But taking a look at bloodyface's deck list, going for the Burgle Rogue. Now, this version of Burgle Rogue, different from the Water Rogue that we're seeing from players like PNC or like Seiko that we saw in the last match of Europe. Because it does run like preps and eviscerates and a sap, so it does have like that ability to bite for tempo a little bit harder in the early game. And this matchup's kind of weird. I was playing Muzzy's deck list a lot this morning and over the past few days, and even though the players that I've talked to about this deck think that the more aggressive tempo version of the deck is favored, Vendetta is just... it's a hell of a card, man.
Yeah.
You need HenchClan Burglar to activate it because Blink Fox doesn't activate it. But it does just can stop your tempo with HenchClan Thug. You don't have as much value generation. So let's say your early push gets stopped. You're relying on drawing like Evil Miscreant and Myra's Unstable Element to kind of push that last bit of damage.
Yeah, we saw this a lot actually at the World Championship, particularly through Jing's matches. Jing was able to like constantly beat his fellow countryman and practice partner, Shao T, because Shao T was playing more the Tempo Rogue, and then it was still a Tempo Rogue core for Jing's deck, but it had like the Vendettas and the Underbelly Fences, and he just kept winning the board over and over, and then eventually Shao T ran out of damage, and it happened multiple times because they played twice in the group stage, I believe. And I just felt bad for Shao T because he also wasn't drawing like his clean like prep rating parties into Waggle picks. He had like a very okay average start, And it's same thing with Muzzy here. If he starts with like an average opening, then bloodyface might be completely okay. That being said, double miscreant, hench clan thug, even a raiding party just to draw the actual cards to have things to do. Muzzy's off to a pretty solid start.
Yeah, pretty solid start, but it is a little bit of a slow start, and that's just kind of the deck nowadays on average, right? Raiding party moving to 4, prep moving to only 2 mana cost reduction means that all of those crazy powerful plays that you could have done in the past come out a few turns slower, which means that you give this more value-oriented rogue a lot more time to get the ball rolling. And that value can sometimes be the difference maker because Muzzy's going to run out of resources. If Bloodyface finds ways to disseminate this board, then he's going to be in a pretty good position.
He does. He has prep eviscerate. He can combine it with something else. Like the first thing that people might look at is these evil miscreant or blink fox, because you can play a 3-mana card and get some extra resource generation off it. But there's also the possibility that Bloodyface may be considering whether or not he can squeeze in Spear of the Shark. Ooh, Turncoat Contract. So Turncoat Contract is destroy an enemy minion and then add a copy of it to your hand. I don't know how applicable it is, but hey, maybe you kill the Van Cleave, and then you get a copy of Van Cleave in your own hand.
Yeah.
And with all those lackeys and Spear of the Shark combinations, might not be so bad.
Yeah. Might not be bad
it's
at all.
Good. Don't try to one-up me, T. Just move on.
Oh, man. I want to so bad, Dan. That was a 6 out of 10 performance. I'm sure I could deliver at least an 8.
Yeah, I didn't do my vocal warm-up. I don't have my lemon tea and honey. Otherwise, I would hit pitch levels that make your dogs all the way from East LA come running.
That's over the mountains from here. So
they have very good hearing.
Oh, Dan's confident that he can project.
Well, for people who don't know, TJ's puppers are adorable. I actually have yet to meet them, but he showed me pictures.
Yes. I love them.
Well, I'm still waiting for your promised home warming party.
Dan, half my house still feels empty. I don't even have things on my walls yet. We moved in December, and it's like we're still
half a year later
thinking about buying like furniture and decorations.
Well, it feels weird too because with the newborn, you feel like if you buy anything, he's just gonna potentially ruin it, or your dog might ruin it immediately.
Yeah, they're just gonna turn it into toys, like.
Right. Anything on the wall is potentially getting drawn on.
Yeah.
Spear of the Shark coming down here. Mozzi doesn't have that answer, and with this, Bloodyface seems firmly ahead. Mozzi spent his turn removing and drawing cards. When I say ahead, I mean ahead on board. Mozzi has the ability to just push damage. And that's where we'll see whether or not the evil miscreants can generate the damage necessary. But Bloodyface with the Shark, he gets to strike first here.
Yeah. I like the hold from Mozzi. He wants to go for a big Edwin Van Cleave. And also, you don't want to give your opponent the ability to get extra value from Spear of the Shark. You want to force them to have like proactive value from Spear of the Shark instead of reactive value. So, because let's say he did play Dread Corsair, would have just got eaten up by the Kobold Lackey or an SI7 agent.
Gets a understated 5-mana minion through the. Looks like Bloodyface is going to try again, go to 7. Safeguard would be good. Rabble Bouncer's solid. I mean, it just puts a lot of stats on the board. Oh, sorry, a lot of health on the board for Muzzy to chew through. And with the Shark going uncontested, seems like Muzzy is very far behind now, and perhaps would have to rely on his evil miscreant Edwin play to climb back. But with Shark not dying, I think this might be a runaway game here for Bloodyface.
Yeah, I think Muzzy was hoping to be able to attack in the Spirit of the Shark this turn, play a bunch of stuff, and Edwin Van Cleave.
Yeah, he still can get through this Rabble Bouncer. In fact, does he have the ability to kill the Shark? He does. It costs him a Shadow Step, which isn't the worst thing in the world, I'd say, but it's not ideal. So the way to do is Muzzy can use these Goblin Lackey on the far right, give it a minion rush and +1 attack. They can Shadow Step a minion and then be able to kill the shark that way, because he should be able to chew through the Rabble Bound through this match. He needs to go kind of fast though. He's running out of time, but it looks like he got it off just barely.
I think it's the Witchy Lackey to turn this into. Did he get it?
I think so, but he shaked his head.
Oh, he did get the Zilliax
attack.
I don't even know if it matters that much since it's 1 attack minions on board.
I think life is very important in the Rogue matchup once we start hitting around this point of the game, which is around turn 5, turn 6, because that's when they leverage their board and start pushing big damage.
He could Turncoat Contract the Zilliax.
Oh, I apologize. Turncoat Contract deals its damage to its friendly minions. I believe I misremembered its effect. But
you convinced me, Dan.
Well, when I see Turncoat, I was like, oh, well, you betray, right? But the idea is that you turn on your friends.
Yeah, you betray by casting Betrayal.
Right. Yes, so that was my mistake. For people who do not know, this contract is a unidentified one from the Rise of Shadows. That's supposed to be a callback mechanic to the Kobolds and Catacombs expansion, where you role-played as a Dungeons and Dragons type flavor, and you had unidentified maws, unidentified shields, etc.
You had me at roleplay.
So missed 3 life and also an extra 1/1 on the board here for Muzzy.
Yeah, and Muzzy kind of being punished for attacking or for doing his turn a little bit late, because he could have got like Leroy Jenkins at the 5-mana slot and be able to push 6 damage to face.
Actually, one thing I didn't realize was if you use that card on the Zilliax, the damage that it dealt is lifesteal, so he actually gained 6 life anyways. So Muzzy only could have gained 1
you're
more
right.
life.
Yeah.
So it was like he shouldn't be at 26, but that was. I'm learning a lot about Hearthstone interactions right now.
All right, Muzzy going for the value plan here. Shadow Steps a Witchy Lackey just to be able to guarantee that he can waggle pick for more lackeys.
He can go 1 more and set up the Van Cleave here, especially with the contract already used, and that's just a straight up assassinate with bonus. He can play this Evil Miscreant, evolve it,
and then play Edwin Binkley for a 1, 2, 3, 4, a 10-10?
Yeah, Bloodyface does have ways to answer this 10-10. He doesn't have the convenient one through Sap. It's a 1-of copy in his primary deck.
It may be, oh man. And this is a big decision point for Bloodyface, because his hand is all damage. So you have to make the decision here, can I race? And in order to race, you need to be able to set up a 2-turn lethal. So he has 3 damage on board, Life Drinker's 6, SI7 Agent is 8, Kobolakki's 10, Leroy plus Eviscerate would be 20.
Doesn't look like it.
It doesn't look like it. So it looks like he's in a position where he can try and set up a 2-turn lethal with a top deck, but he doesn't have the mana, I think.
Yeah, he'd have to use, like if he picked up Shadow Step, which is probably his highest individual card damage with Leroy Jenkins, he'd be able to play Leroy, Shadow Step, Leroy for 12. But then one thing that does become part of the problem is Life Drinker, right? Like he plays Life Drinker in this spot, but Muzzy could also Life Drinker, and that kind of messes with the life totals on both sides.
Yeah.
So Bloodyface, I completely agree with the idea to clear at least a little bit of the board. Yeah, clear off the 1/1/2. There's no point in holding that backstab. At this point, it's turned into an all-out race, and Muzzy will not have the does not want to clear the board with this Edwin. He is going face. This Ethereal Lackey can pick up a big card. Blade Flurry, unidentified
he can
Sap.
Dagger up Deadly Poison Blade Flurry.
Oh my gosh, you are correct.
Which clears the board and pushes 13.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
It's just, Muzzy's playing with all the nerf cards.
Boy, oh, wowee.
It's all the nerfed rogue cards here.
What a clear.
And Bloodyface, not expecting the Blade Flurry. This hurts. He needs Sap. He needs some way Evil Miscreant is a way to potentially deal with it.
Bloodyface is
He also could
Literally
Leroy into the Van Cleef. It's not 100% determined yet.
oh man. I don't think he can do anything. I think he has to Kobold Lackey.
I wonder.
I think he's got to go for face. I think he has to Kobold Lackey face, Evil Miscreant, Ethereal Lackey into exactly Zap.
Yeah. Oh, Ethereal Lackey.
Zap.
Shadow Step. Try again. Muzzy's like, oh boy.
Oh boy.
Pickpocket? No, he doesn't have enough mana to do it anymore. Okay, Witchy Lackey can set up a taunt. Wait, no. Witchy Lackey can evolve a 1-mana minion to a Sorcerer's Apprentice. Then you can pickpocket. Okay, well, he's not going to do that.
Pickpocket and then Zap.
Yes, that's exactly my logic.
Whoa, is that a higher out than getting a taunt from?
I don't know. I don't think it
I don't
was
think
the
at
right
all.
percentage at all.
That's a very, very, very low percentage. But Muzzy takes game number 1 off the back of that 10-10 Van Cleef in the Blade Flurry.
Blade Flurry, but
Ethereal Lackey.
more importantly, though, it's Muzzy being able to recognize that he needed to play value with his hand as opposed to straight up aggression,
Yes.
right? Like there was moments where if the Southsea deckhand and the Hinchclung Thug went unanswered, he'd just be equipping Wagglepick, going face, putting Bloodyface like half his life gone right there and then. But because Bloodyface was able to clear it and set up the shark and get value after that shark, Muzzy wisely made some foundational plays that set him up for success. If he swung with the Wagglepick on 4 haphazardly, he would have been in a situation where he couldn't use it defensively without giving up some of his tempo or value, and then was not able to get like those lackeys to set him up for a position of success. So I completely agree. The Blade Flurry, of course, was the nail in the coffin, but what's important was the wood that was used to build the said coffin.
Yeah, I think that Muzzy's still favored, even if he picks up even an inconsequential spell from that. Bloodyface was setting up, he would not even have the option for a 2-turn lethal unless he picked up exactly Preparation off the top, which he'd use both.
Right.
So not even available. I'm pretty sure he'd use both. So it looked like Muzzy was in the driver's seat the whole way, like you said. Just a nail in the coffin from the Blade Flurry and a very well-navigated game 1 for Muzzy.
All right, Muzzy looks like in top shape. Bloodyface had the answers, had the right ideas, but he's going to have to see if either of his secondary or tertiary decking strike back, or maybe things will stay the same. We'll find out more. Don't go anywhere. More Hearthstone Grandmasters action when we come back.
One night, I was called on to scry. But what is this symbol I spy? It's my own crystal ball. Yes, I'll answer the call. And the others will come by and by. That's right. We be calling a team in. The masters of plotting and scheming. By this candle a-glowing, I surely be knowing whose gold will be once more a-gleaming.
My name is Patrick Cadness, and my Battle.net tag is Patra. Being in Grandmasters means a whole lot to me, and I feel like I've realized it more now actually being here and seeing everything that's happened. I'm looking forward to, of course, facing all the players because I feel like it's a good experience for me to grow as a player. I do think that, yeah, I'm one of the weakest players in this tournament. Like, I would say I'm an underdog. I just want to represent my country very well, and I want to represent, you know, anybody else basically supporting me. I just hope I do a good job. I have goals for different things. Like, I have goals for my social media, trying to get like this amount of followers by the end of the year. And for Hearthstone, I'd love to not be last in GMs. I want to stick around as long as I can. I just want to show everybody that I love the game so much, and I hope that the audience is happy with all the players that Blizzard has selected, and I hope they enjoy the show.
All right, we're getting ready for game number 2 between Muzzy and bloodyface, which, you know, that one was quite the roller coaster. I kind of felt like Muzzy was ahead early, and then I saw bloodyface's hand with the prep eviscerates with the shark that went uncontested, and then and Muzzy was able to barely fight back for the board, and then bloodyface got a head back on board, and then Muzzy got the blade flurry. A lot of
What a
shenanigans.
roller coaster of emotions.
It was.
man.
A lot of shenanigans were had. Going into game number 2, both these players are sticking to their primary decks, which makes sense. You know, the Betrayal, the Fairy Dragons, the Walk the Planks. They're better against mages. They're not that useful in the mirror match. Now, bloodyface is on the play. That is not a pretty hand to start things off, but it is a hand that can respond to a fast board development from Muzzy. Specifically, bloodyface has at least the ideal answer to a Hench Clan Thug. Sometimes it's really funny because people used to be so afraid of Hench Clan Thug in the past, TJ, that they were trying to hold the answers for it, that it almost made having Hench Clan Thug kind of a problem because they would like immediately tempo them out.
Yeah.
So sometimes not having it, like just playing a Bling Fox or a Side-7 agent, ended up being like a little bit better to break that up.
Yeah.
In this position though, bloodyface, what does he want to do, right? Does he want to go for the backside by side? Does he even want to just go for an early Van Cleave?
You can go for early Van Cleave, but then if you put damage on this Evil Miscreant, unless he picked up a Witchy Lackey,
It's wasted damage.
It's wasted damage. Now you're dealing 2 damage to gain +2/+2 on the Edwin Van Cleave, but I just don't think it's worth it early on. But Muzzy, a large resource advantage, can just fight for the board early on. Can even hold on to this weapon until Captain Greenskin, unless a Waggle pickup changes his mind about things. But this is not a great hand from bloodyface.
No, this is Edwin Shadow Step turn.
Yep. And Muzzy has a pretty easy way to answer this with Backstab Kobold Lackey SI7 agent. Or South Sea Deckhand, but I think South Sea Deckhand has more uses in this deck in particular. Maybe not. I don't know, maybe Kobold Lackey's better. Yeah, actually, maybe Kobold Lackey's better. You don't have the weapon requirement, you deal 2 damage and leave a 1/1 behind instead of dealing... Ah, that's tough. Which one's better, Dan? Which one do you want to keep around?
I like having more board presence, personally.
So having the 1/1 stick around?
Yes.
Okay.
Because then it forces bloodyface to use a dagger, and it shuts down his opportunities in his plays. Because the dagger being up is not that big of a deal. It's more that bloodyface at one point, if he ever wants to get 1 extra damage, will have to re-dagger again, which means he spends 2 more mana.
Yeah.
So it's an investment into the future, TJ. Because, you know, bloodyface would ideally like to curve out with something else more efficient.
Yeah.
Now Muzzy gets the tempo swing he's looking for. He's been saving this Captain Greenskin combo for turn 5, and this was the big swing yesterday that we saw. Spear of the Shark.
This game is going to end very quickly, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of gave Muzzy the big edge in this matchup because they just have more ways to end the game, and
More ways to be proactive.
yeah,
as
more
well.
ways to be proactive. And it's cool that there's a lot of removal for the variant that bloodyface is playing, but Muzzy's read to bring Tempo Rogue this week looks more brilliant with each passing turn.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if once Bloodyface sees his draw next turn, if he doesn't just concede, if it's not something that he gets immediate value off of. Muzzy's developing another 3-3 here. He's going to develop another 2-1 that also charges for 2.
He's playing around Betrayal.
Wow!
Just in case Bloodyface has it.
Wow!
What the heck? Bloodyface was at full life, and now it's like, he's at 13.
Alright, well, he gets Blink Fox and Life Trigger here, but let's count the damage on board. 7, 10, 15 damage. Life Trigger would bring him up to 19.
Right.
And he knows there's a Waggle Pick in hand, so Life Trigger doesn't do anything. He knows that he's dead regardless.
So Blink Fox would have to give Deadly Poison and Blade Flurry. It's too expensive. Blink Fox would have to give Fan of Knives and Preparation. And then we'll go from there. Then he can Lava Burst the Captain Greenskin.
Yeah. He knows there's a Waggle Pick in hand, so I believe he's just dead on board. 7, 10, 15, and 19. Throwing a Deadly Poison, maybe an Eviscerate from an Ethereal Lackey, and Muzzy, another quick 2-0. 4-0 in game score on the week, 2-0 in matches.
And 5 points for Frodance Fantasy.
And 5 points for Frodance Fantasy League.
I always had faith in the Muzz. He was my first round draft pick. Can't ever go wrong with the one-drop Muzz. But the thing about it is that this might look like, oh yeah, Muzzy just crushed Bloodyface. I think that this was a deck building preparation victory because people weren't anticipating Muzzy to bring this deck list. You know, in fact, I wasn't expecting anyone to bring this Rogue, period.
Yes.
And yet, it makes sense because Rogue is still very effective at killing the mages if you anticipate them. As you can tell, Muzzy still was good against the Warriors, a very competitive win rate. Even if you argue it's favored one way or the other, the idea is that Warrior doesn't decisively beat the Rogue. It's still close. It's like a 48-52 split one way or the other. And then the third thing is, if you do match against other Rogues, which you anticipate other people doing, you're favored against them because they're playing slower. It's very similar for the people who are playing Hunter Mirrors on ladder, but one's playing like the Secret, and one's playing like the mid-range Hunter, and one's playing like the Mech. The faster, the more damage that one variant has in these kinds of matchups, the more that player's in the advantage.
In a general sense, yeah.
In a general sense, yes.
Some outliers, but this has kind of been the case in Hearthstone's history. If you look back at some lists, like the biggest one I look to is Aggro Shaman. Was very good against mid-range Shaman,
right?
Which were both very similar. Like it was hard to differentiate between the two, but just speeding up slightly ended up giving it the edge.
Yep.
So it's kind of been the case throughout Hearthstone history.
Yeah.
So
for at least board-centric, tempo-oriented decks.
Absolutely, which that's a good comparison to draw. But Muzzy, 4-0 game score, 2-0 on the week, 3-3 score now. He's moving up in the world.
That's right. And with that, we'll, I believe, be tied with Firebat for right under that playoff content. Let's go ahead and talk with Muzzy, who is joining us. Muzzy, you there? Oh, Muzzy, you might be muted on your end, but it looks like you can hear us.
Check.
There you go.
There we go.
Gotcha. Nice.
Bingo.
So I see a big grin on your face, feeling good after another 2-0, all according to plan.
Yeah. Coming in this week, starting out 1-3, it definitely didn't go my way the first 2 weeks how I wanted it to. So I felt I can't bring middle of the deck, average deck, bomb warrior, mage decks that people are prepared for and go off with a 1-1 week. I have a losing record. I want to get that back to 50% in the coming weeks, get that ahead. So I took a bit of a risk with the rogue deck, I would say, because other people didn't seem to trust it. But, after my 4-0 performance right now, I mean, is there any debate about what the best rogue deck currently is?
Results speak for themselves, man. It looked really clean. So yesterday I saw you posting with Firebat about your practice stats against yourself. Did you do the same thing against Bloodyface today where you played a bunch of games? And if so, what was the result of that?
I actually did not play any games against Bloodyface's deck yesterday after, I was very tired. I didn't get much sleep the past few days with prepping my decks and then waking up in the morning, watching GM matches, and then playing, basically 10 hours straight against Firebat's decks because that was the matchup that I wanted to do better. And I know there was ways I could improve, whereas in Rogue Mirrors, I've played them a lot in the past, so I didn't and I've played against the Shark Rogue, not the exact list, but other lists in the past. And I knew that coming in, since I have Dread Corsairs in my deck and I can cheat mana with them, they don't have a really good way of dealing with 0 mana 3/3s in the Rogue Mirror, and you just get ahead and kill them usually. So I didn't dedicate as much practice against Bloodyface's decks than I did Firebats.
Yeah, that makes sense, but still the confidence was able to run over, and of course your experience, like you said.
Yeah. So Muzzy, you're coming off a 2-0 week, but next week things are getting shaken up a bit because you're going to be playing on pretty much in a whole new environment with the buffs. How are you feeling about your next week's matches, because things are going to be far from solved by the time submission comes around?
And you're moving.
Yeah,
you're moving.
It's gonna be, it's gonna be pretty hectic. Like I move out Monday, and then I need to settle in, make sure everything's good at the new place. You know, buy new furniture, fridge, stuff like that, get that all in. And nerfs are hitting the day I fly out, and you know, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Buffs.
Buffs. Oh yeah, buffs. Not,
Yeah. Get it right, Muzz.
Yeah. Buffs are coming, so I mean, I have some ideas of what I want to try out. So it'll definitely be interesting. I think we'll see the meta differentiate quite a bit, and then differentiate even more once we get to Vegas, I feel.
Yeah, that's right. Can't wait for Vegas, and can't wait to see if Saiyan can follow suit. Because if Saiyan drops to 1-5, you have every right to, I guess, tease and kind of elbow him. Have you been talking a lot to Saiyan over the past couple of days? Because I know you said you're practicing it yourself. Did you get a chance to check in with him?
Yeah, I mean, we talked sort of for this week. You know, he brought a different rogue deck. We sort of differentiated on the gameplay. He might have not had as much belief in the rogue deck as I did, because I was piloting it so much. So, and we don't like always have all the time to dedicate however many games we want practicing against each other, because he also has other opponents he needs to prepare for, and I also need to dedicate that time to prepare for my opponents as well. So that's why I sort of took the practicing against myself line a bit, which I'm doing a lot more than I did in the past. And I think it really helps me understand the matchups from both ends and sort of see, you know, on these crucial turns, what turns do I need to play around? What turns do I make it awkward for my opponents? I mean, it probably won't work for everyone if you don't have understanding of the matchups on both ends, the decks that you're practicing versus, but once you get to it and you learn, and you know, even if you can see that, you know, Muzzy 2 has Brawl in his hand, Muzzy wants, if the right play is to play into Brawl, I'll still play into Brawl in those scenarios.
Right.
You know.
Muzzy 2 gets me every time. He always has the Brawl on 5.
Muzzy 2 is going to qualify for Grandmasters, and then Muzzy truly can play against himself in the GM League. All right, well, one thing that I want to say as a last note here before we let you go. Happy birthday again, Muzzy. If you had one Hearthstone-related birthday wish, what would it be?
I mean, I think I got my wish this weekend. It was to go 2-0 and get back to the 50-50 record I was hoping for. So thanks, Hearthstone, I guess.
No problem.
You're welcome.
Hearthstone. All right, Muzz, congratulations. Good luck on the move, and see you back next week.
Thanks again. I see it.
All right, so a very quick 2-0 fashion. Bloodyface struggling a little bit this week. He was at 2-2, and then now is at 2-4. But I know Bloodyface, he's a fierce competitor, and once the dust settles, he's going to be back, especially for next week's buffs, because he is definitely one of the more innovative thinkers out there, definitely in the Americas and obviously in the world. So for Bloodyface fans that are emerging since last year, his breakout performance, don't worry. I'm sure he'll be back with a fire. Wow, TJ, we're done with 2 matches already. What do you think?
Well, we got a Warrior Mirror to slow things down later on, but we got a Rogue Mirror coming up, so we might have another bit of a fast match with Saiyan hoping to answer Muzzy's 2-0 performance for the week.
All right, so guys, we'll be back. We're just 2 matches in, 3 more to go. More Hearthstone Grandmasters action right after this.